Let's podcast. Alongside Joe Giglio, I'm Joe Ovias inside Eford Studios, downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. You just got done with your taxes. Maybe you're like me. You got to print all that stuff out. It had in your hand. Copiers Plus, my Kyocera certainly help with that. More importantly, you might be looking to save money after you just got done with your taxes. Copiers Plus can definitely help with that with print management and document management solutions. Get that assessment today at copiers-plus.com. What I need Copiers Plus to help out with is a machine that dispenses all allergy medicines all the time. Allergies
you got to stay
Plus.
on top of it.
You're right. Well, yesterday I decided to mow because I didn't get to it this past
with
weekend.
your hand mower that just is twirling it up into your respiratory system.
I ran over a clump of oak tree pollen and it just went poof. And it's just like my eyes were like sandpaper. It was brutal. So I had the neti after. I had the eye drops going out, and I still felt like shit at the end of the day. But it's fine.
I know it would help.
What would help?
Some quality time at the 14th annual North Carolina Q-Grass Festival downtown. Saturday, noon and 6, multiple stages. You'll even see us out there.
Yeah, we'll be out there. We'll be presenting.
We won't sing though.
No, definitely not. We'll be out there presenting. It'll be a fun time, and I will be on the Clarendon, the Flonase, and everything else while we're out there.
Yeah, they don't need me being like the MC. I'm the teller, right? Teller's the one who doesn't talk.
No, please talk this time.
Who's the one who doesn't talk?
I think it's it's Teller. I think it's Teller.
No, Penn is the one who doesn't. No, who's the big guy?
I don't. The big guy talks. The skinny guy, the small skinny guy doesn't.
So it doesn't tell. I think that's what it is.
Is that what it is?
I think.
Jay and Silent Bob. You want to go with that one?
Yeah, I'm definitely Silent Bob.
You're definitely Silent Bob. Just bring the trench coat out and you'll be
Kevin
good to go.
Smith.
Put the hat backwards,
Berserker.
trench coat. You're good to go. Now, so as I'm doing yard work yesterday, I used it as an opportunity to catch up on podcasts. And, there are times where I worry about the length of our podcast.
Okay.
Like you try to keep this thing lean and mean and try to hit all the key points that we want to. I mean, my goal is that you're somewhat better informed and entertained when the podcast is over. And I try to keep it to about an hour. Obviously, that doesn't happen all the time. So Cam Newton was on with Shannon Sharp last week, and I hadn't had a chance to listen to it yet.
A lot going on.
Dude, did you see how long that full podcast was?
I mean, if once I figured they got knee deep in the weeds about Florida and Tim Tebow and Urban Meyer, I'm like, oh, they went deep.
3 hours. 3 hours.
They went deep
for that podcast. And yes, they did go deep. You referenced one of the things that I know went viral, where he was talking about his time at Florida, his time at Auburn, the $180,000. Where did it go? Everything else. But the part that I actually found more interesting ties into what's going on in the pop culture world. You might not be familiar with this, but there's a rap beef going on right now. Are you familiar with this rap beef? I'll try to give you the too long didn't read version of the rap beef.
Okay.
You're familiar with Drake, right?
Of course.
Drake's had a very successful career. Sold out stadiums, multiple hits. He is at 37, still at like the peak of his popularity, which is pretty impressive for the music genre in general. But he's a little bit of like the subtweet equivalent of it's called a sneak diss. Like he'll drop little things here and there. He's taking shots at various people, whatnot. I guess after years of doing this, everybody's finally fed up with it. They just don't like the dude, and they've been coming after Drake. So this past weekend, it was, well, is this a leaked version of a diss track? Oh, Rick Ross is saying some wild shit. J. Cole spent the previous week apologizing to Kendrick Lamar because of all this other stuff that was going on. There's a lot of pieces to this, but ultimately what it comes down to is we got a classic rap beef going on, and I'm all in on this. But I was thinking to myself, why do people, maybe it's because I'm so used to how this industry works, that I'm finding it hilarious that people are losing their minds over grown men coming at each other. Joe, in our business, grown men are on TV and on radio and on podcasts going after each other on a weekly basis. And I thought the most interesting part of this was Cam Newton giving away the game when it came to the media side of things. Because I think Cam's podcast is very good. I think it's very, very candid. And he and Shannon Sharp got into a back and forth about why Cam is doing this podcast, why Cam Newton's not doing television right now. And I thought his response was very interesting.
You said okay, Romo got what he got when he played and then he goes out and he becomes color of CBS, gets this long-term deal.
The prime time game. He ain't.
Oh, yeah, he's number one. He's number one.
I take another guy who I have a whole bunch of respect for and call me biased. Greg Olsen.
Yeah.
Greg Olsen didn't get that deal. So it can't be no black and white thing. It's just like, yo, how? Why? How did he get that?
Right. You want to call games?
Man, I want the money. I'll figure everything else out. Shit, I asked you a question about, damn, what made you get into Le Portier?
Yeah.
It's a good shit. You realize that you could become a billionaire. Shit, we'll figure all the other rest of the stuff out later. I ain't no different. Cam, do you want to call game? Nope. Shit, we're going to give you $30 million a year. Shit.
No, but you can't go, Cam, you can't go in there and say, no, you got, yes, I would love to call games.
Well, yeah, I love to call games. What that contract look like? We're going to give you $750,000. Yeah, all right, I'm good where I'm at.
I mean, it all depends on where you call them. You call in you the number one slot or the number two slot. Number one slot, is here.
Man, you got to know who you are. You see what I'm saying? You take certain people from certain situations, and that situation ain't the same. My point, period. Undisputed ain't been the same since Shannon Sharp moonwalked up out of there. Shannon Sharp gonna be straight.
Yeah.
Now, Skip, why them ratings ain't what they are now? Oh, it's because of you. No. You got to figure out, you got to know who you are, bro.
You do, Cam, but I think the thing is that we are not going to get allowed to start at the top. You start in the mail room, and then you're going to start carrying the mail, and then you're going to work your way up before you get to the penthouse. You're not going to the penthouse. You have to understand that. And see, you can be good at any game if you understand the rules and how to play the game.
I understand that, and I'm exposing that. So you do me a favor.
Okay.
You go back to the introduction.
Yeah.
And you give that resume.
Yeah.
And you put that on Dan Orlovsky and see if he don't become
get the number one slot up.
Hello. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I understand what the rules are.
Yes.
I'm just here to expose it. Like your constituent Cat Williams said, I'm just here to collect information. And I'm just here to report it.
So that's just a snippet of Cam Newton's sit down with Shannon Sharp that went 3 whole hours. I listened to about 90 minutes of it while I was doing yard work yesterday. And as I'm hearing all of this unfold, I'm kind of nodding along with how Cam was expressing how the business works. But you notice what he did there. He's keeping receipts. He's like, oh, you put my resume on Dan Orlovsky. Dan Orlovsky is much more elevated than where he is today. They were kind of riffing on Tony Romo, where a guy who never won playoff games, was a highly paid quarterback, but never really had any sort of resume to go with it, walks right straight to the number one CBS spot with Jim Nantz when he retired. We're seeing this with Tom Brady, right? You and I have talked about Greg Olsen. Like, Greg Olsen has absolutely become a top tier analyst when it comes to football. And he's getting kicked out despite the fact that he did a wonderful job on Fox because, well, Tom Brady finally decided it's time for me to stop playing. Or did he, Joe? This is the other podcast I decided to give a listen to. And it's this barber who does these sit down. We got to talk to Leanne across the hall. Because right now, the things that absolutely pop on YouTube, people love. And this is not a new phenomenon, but it persists. There's something about people sitting in a barber chair, and people love watching people talk in a barber chair.
All right, that's LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, but LeBron wasn't the first. The shot wasn't the first.
Ice Cube. Yeah.
So maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to have Leanne sit down with people from Raleigh in the barber chair and just have her ask a bunch of questions and just watch it pop on YouTube.
And never use the word G, the letter G. Pronounce.
That's a good point. So it's this guy, I think his name is Vic Cutts, and he does this podcast, and he had Tom Brady sit down. He goes the full hour before he's like, so.
We get it. You're 100% retired.
Yes.
Let's say one day there's a situation, right? Maybe it's the 49ers, maybe, heading to the playoffs. Offense is great.
Patriots,
somebody,
Raiders,
look,
could be, you never know.
God forbid somebody goes down. Would you pick up that phone?
I'm not opposed to it. If they would, I don't know if they're going to let me if I become an owner in the NFL team, but I don't know if I don't know. I'm always going to be in good shape. Always be able to throw the ball. So to come in for a little bit, like MJ coming back, I don't know if they let me, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I don't know if they would let me. Okay. Tom Brady, by the way.
Magic Johnson had that. You just have to invest your investment for however long.
As I was listening to this clip and I was thinking about Tom Brady, we're getting ready for LeBron James and we're getting for in the playoffs and things like that. I was thinking back to our conversation about Tiger Woods and how I think through a variety of examples, I think Tom Brady and LeBron James being the prime examples, we act like all of the best to do it can do it as long as these guys have had, right? Like Aaron Rodgers, who, by the way, was on a podcast as well, but we're not going to talk about that podcast because I've been given strict orders to not talk about Aaron Rodgers and his problematic views that he expresses on podcasts. So we're not going to talk about that. But we act as though Aaron Rodgers is going to go back to the Jets this upcoming season. They're going to be playoff contenders. Based on what exactly? Well, Tom Brady played until that was Tom Brady. He was built different. Well, Cam Newton, that was Cam Newton. Judge his career based on what we saw. That was the other thing about Cam that I thought was interesting is that he's fine not going back to the Heisman Trust because of what happened at Auburn. He's also cool if he doesn't make the Hall of Fame because he understands whether you want to believe it or not, he believes that he had an impact on the game. People understand he had an impact on the game, and he feels it, so he doesn't necessarily have to worry about the Hall of Fame.
Why wouldn't he be in the Hall of Fame?
Because of the longevity of his career. You and I are on the same page.
Terrell Davis is in the Hall of Fame.
I get it, but you know how people get about Cam Newton. Shout out to Darren Gant. Cam Newton makes people stupid. So I'm watching this clip about Tom Brady. Do I think Tom Brady can go out there and win a couple football games this upcoming season on the right situation? Yes, I do. But that's Tom Brady. Same with LeBron James. Do I think LeBron James has it in him going into the playoffs with the Lakers? That he can summon that? Yeah, but that's what makes LeBron James LeBron James. We got to stop acting as though because these two guys can do it, it means all of the other guys that we like can keep doing it. They are the exception to the rule, y'all. Please understand that. The other thought that I had, Joe, and maybe you experienced this, maybe you don't. And I'll tie it back to the rap beef before we move on to some housekeeping.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Who was Drake beefing with?
So, okay. Let's
Is it more than one person?
Oh, dude, it's like a Marvel Cinematic Universe.
They're all
like
coming at him.
He's Thanos. Right now.
Okay.
Seriously, no, that's probably the best way I can put it to you. And
we're not mad at Diddy. We're focused on Drake.
No, we're mad at Diddy for really, really bad reasons.
Okay.
So here's the thing.
That's why I'm confused.
Here's the thing. In every industry, somebody gets to the top and people start accusing them of, well, in Drake's case, well, he uses ghostwriters. He only jumps on these pop artist thing, and that's how he gets to the number one spot. The haters start to come out. But he's done a lot of collabs with these guys. They've all worked with a lot of these guys.
I was going to say.
But over time, I guess he's done enough, shitty stuff that people are now starting to come after him. But it's also the part of the rap game. I'm the best. I'm the best. No, I'm the best. I'm going to tell you I'm the best. I'm going to rap my ass off to prove to you that I'm the best. But then it usually gets to a point where it gets personal. Like you can go all the way back to, the one that's the most seminal of our generation would be Jay-Z and Nas, right? Or you had Tupac and Biggie, right? With Hit 'Em Up and everything else. That hasn't escalated at this point, but there are a lot of personal things that take place. But you're asking, why are they beefing? Why do any of us beef?
Somebody said something that you didn't like.
Or you see that you see in your career when you were a writer, are there not writers that got to certain positions and you thought to yourself, how the hell did this person get to this level? I write better than them. I have better stories than them. How are they writing for a national place? And I'm not. I know you've thought that.
Sure.
Okay. But you eventually got over it. You got older. You moved on. Hey, man, when I was younger, you know this about me. I have tweeted and said things openly on the air that when I was younger, that sounds like something that a younger me would do. Being a little bit too competitive.
Sure.
A little too competitive. And I've had to repair some relationships because of that. Relationships I care to repair. There are some relationships that I do not care to repair. And there are certain people in this industry who will not say one word to me. And that's fine because I don't mess with you You don't mess with me. We move on with our lives, right? The point being here is that for as much as dudes try to act as though they are all well put together, dudes are probably the most emotionally fragile people on this planet. And it expresses itself in so many ways, whether it's through rap beefs, where, what do you mean you didn't like my song? You didn't like my song? Well, I'm going to rap about it. You dissed me? It was a sneak diss? Well, I'm going to do that about you. You just saw this as an example with Cam Newton, where he's clearly keeping receipts of, oh, so this guy you've elevated to this level, and he's done nothing compared to me. Oh, I see how it is. I'm going to carve it out my own way. Dude, Pat McAfee. Do I even have to start with Pat McAfee? I hope Pat McAfee doesn't have an algorithm on YouTube that has the alert go off. Some jabroni in Raleigh said my name. Let me listen to it. And that's when I took it personally. I mean, the last time I saw Pat McAfee beefing with somebody was because Bill Simmons, another guy who is really fragile about his place in the business, had like they made fun of some aspect of his show. McAfee took it personally, dude. Stephen A. Smith went after Jason Whitlock on his own podcast a couple months ago. You want to talk about rap beef diss tracks?
Yeah.
Somebody please put the ether track underneath Stephen A. Smith going after Whitlock. My goodness. And don't even get me started on Dan Le Batard. Don't even get me started on Dan Le Batard and the Cold War that has taken place with a couple of people in this industry over about hurt feelings and everything else. All of this is to say, rap beefs ain't got nothing on sports radio dude beefs. Nothing. All right? Because on the rap beefs, on the rap beefs, you get the subliminal messages. It's almost like a Taylor Swift game. There's this reference. Is it this boyfriend that she was referencing? Is it this some sort of, what is All Too Well about? That chick Gyllenhaal, right?
It's like an Easter egg.
It really is like an Easter egg. With sports radio dude stuff, there are no Easter eggs. They will straight up walk up to you, like I did once. They will straight up walk up to you while you're doing the radio show at like Super Bowl Radio Row and be like, so I heard what you said about me. Let's sit down. Oh, dude, you want to get into the FM radio wars from back in the day with Howard Stern?
Yeah.
Like him and Mancow and all those people? You want to talk about things got personal. They will go on the air to try to get them off the air. Like the FCC to shut them down, for heaven's sake. And yes, the person that I'm referencing that I walked up to was Clay Travis. This is back before Clay Travis was Clay Travis.
Sure.
But I got really pissed off at Clay Travis for constantly invoking NC State and some like NC State SEC stuff. And I walked up to him at a Super Bowl Radio Row and I'm like, dude, could you not? Because you're full of shit. I know where you're getting this stuff from. Stop it. He's like, well, don't you think it'd be interesting? I'm like, no, it's not about whether it's interesting or not. You're just going on air and saying that this is going to happen when it's not going to happen. Just do me a favor and please stop. So I've seen all this. Have you beefed with anybody? Openly. I have. I've stopped.
I can't keep track.
Oh, come on. You've openly and I'm not talking about fans. I'm talking about another.
Right.
I'm talking about another professional. Have you beefed with somebody openly?
I mean, people have been mad at me.
Yeah.
You know.
Another media person's been mad at you?
Mark Armstrong's been mad at me at certain times. But it's mostly stuff either I did something wrong or they didn't like it.
Okay.
But that's why I wouldn't call it a beef. Like, I have no problem when I do something wrong and somebody calls me and says, hey, I didn't like that.
Okay.
Like, okay. I'll try to understand why you didn't like it and not do it again.
You're not cut out for this business.
No, I'm not. It's different.
You're not cut out for this business
because it's more of like, okay, well, you didn't like. Well, why didn't you like that? Oh, okay.
Much like rap beefs. If you want to get the headlines, you just gotta go after somebody else. You gotta go. You have to. You don't got that dog.
No,
in you.
I was gonna say that's.
You don't got that dog in you.
Straight up to your face and diss you. No, that ain't me. That ain't me.
I want you out there snatching chains, Joe.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, you like to be liked. That is true. That is true. At the end of the day, we all just want to be liked.
Housekeeping.
You know what I like? I like a clean house. And Inovana came out to the house today, getting things done, getting things clean. Check them out online. Inovana.com. Joe, what are you laughing about?
How good their website is.
Yeah.
Just all you got to do is go to it. Inovana.com. You'll see for yourself how easy it is. set up a schedule. You got questions like, hey, who's coming to my house? You don't need to worry. That's their employees. There's a whole full background check, fully vetted. This isn't like, some fly-by-night operation. You'll see Derek and his crew, the way that they handle their business, if you go to enovana.com.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
Very excited about welcoming on a new corporate champion. Happy and Hail. Welcome. Joe's got the hat. He's rocking it right now. They just introduced the Burnsy Bowl, which is a new feature that they're going to run throughout the playoffs, featuring a menu item created by Brian Burns. Pretty cool. We actually dropped by the North Hills location the other day. You had it there.
It was like a potpourri of excitement. Every bite, I was like, ooh, okay, so there's steak in there. There's arugula in there. The brown rice. It's kind of like your base, right?
Yeah.
And then the scallions and the maple bacon Brussels. Dude, I was like,
the maple bacon Brussels.
Wait, what's happening now? Is it the Brussels is it the dill slaw? The combinations that they came up with that I'm going to assume Brent Burns came up with for this Burnsy Bowl. Go check them out. Happy and Hill. They have locations, like we said, North Hills. They're also over off of Six Forks. They're in Durham. And Joe, they're in the arena. Look at that. Look at us partnering up with people in the arena.
Yeah, it's outside section 123, where you can go to see Happy and Hill. They'll have the Burnsy Bowl, and they have the Bueno Bowl, I believe. I think the Protein Bowl as well. I have to go back and double check on that, but it could be just me projecting the bowls that I typically get. I usually get the Bueno Bowl when I go to Happy and Hill. Sometimes the ahi tuna poke bowl, and the smoothies are really good as well.
The smoothies are excellent, and I know what you're thinking here for just 1 second. You're like, Chilio, you're very good with your food choices. Are you sure?
Yes.
Now here it is. That's their shirt, the swagged up Burnsy shirt. But look at that thing on the right. Like, we're talking real steak here, my friends. Like, this is a really good combo that they have here. I enjoyed it immensely. And then the smoothie had a little bit of a coffee zing to it as well. You know how I get when those things happen.
I know you do. I had the green smoothie. So we thank them for joining up with us here on Ovies and Giglio. And as I say all the time, if you want to support us, listening is great. Downloading the podcast is awesome. Hitting the likes and everything else. We appreciate all that stuff. But the real support comes from supporting those who are financially supporting us. And Happy and Hail, we're really, really hype about bringing them on. I've been a customer of theirs for a really long time, especially that North Hills location. Got a location off Six Forks Road too. So go check that out. A lot of great options.
North Hills over by that little park amphitheater area.
Yes.
And the Harris Teeter side.
And most importantly, they do breakfast all day. So don't sleep on that. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority. They actually came out to the house on Friday to start with the mosquito treatments. And really great customer service. I had to call them up because I had a question about some stuff outside the house, not just mosquitoes, but some other stuff too. And they were really straight up about, all right, here's what we can do. Here's what we cannot do. May we suggest you try this, all that kind of stuff. That's the beauty of Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Check them out online at bugsbite.com. Again, that's bugsbite.com. And State Farm, Matt Davis over at State Farm. Check them out online, insuregarner.com, theoginsurance.com, or call them directly at 919-779-8277. If you're watching on YouTube, you can just put your phone up, put that camera on the QR code that Giglio's got on the window. Again, that's Matt Davis over at State Farm. Call him directly, 919-779-8277.
Yeah, make that call. Best way to save yourself some money on all of your insurance needs.
Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, Mike Maniscalco, voice of the Carolina Hurricanes, Bally Sports, and the regular season wraps up tonight. So nice of you to be dressed up for us, Mike.
Oh, you're very welcome, gentlemen. I figured we want to close out the regular season in style, so I put the dress shirt on.
That's all bullshit. You're headed to practice.
Pretty much,
You're headed to morning skate here real soon. And this is important context, actually, for this discussion as to when you listen to the podcast, you listen to this discussion, understand that this is taking place before the morning skate as the Carolina Hurricanes are in Columbus to close out the season against the Blue Jackets. Right off the bat, we know what the playoff matchup is. We don't know what day it starts, but we do know it's going to be the Islanders. That's going to allow Giglio to ask Sebastian Aho about the real Aho effing stop.
No.
Nonstop.
No, we watched the clip. We talked about this. He has made his feelings made. That's fine. I can do that.
So the Canes do not get the President's Trophy. They're not the top spot. That remains the Rangers.
Why are you cheering that, Gilio?
Gilio is
Why?
about this.
Crisis averted.
There was no crisis. There's none.
Definitely there was.
All right. Okay. I know that it has only happened in the history of the President's Trophy. 2013 is the most recent time when the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup. And then I believe 2008 when it was the Red Wings who did it. And then you got to go back to the Rangers in 94. I get it. But there's a reason why. There's lots of reasons why the President's Trophy thing is. I don't believe in jinxes. I don't believe in curses. I don't. You mean to tell me the reason why the Red Sox didn't win for all those years is because they traded Babe Ruth for, like, at some point in the 50 years after his death, they couldn't figure it out? It was that was looming over them. So that's why I don't believe in this stuff.
We just saw NC State power through NC State shit after we did curse reverses and our own sacrifice. So God. Believe into some of these things.
Strangely, after Roy Williams and Mike Krzyzewski retired out.
Weird. Hey, how did that happen? Why? I can't figure out how 1 + 1 = 7. Why did that happen?
Weird. Strange.
Golly.
Come on now. In this salary cap era for hockey, I think to your point of the President's Trophy, who are the real monsters here I went from 06, the Canes year, to 23. Boston obviously last year set a record for points and wins, but were they really a monster? Or that went like 2 months without a loss. I don't know.
But the thing about hockey, the great equalizer, especially in playoff series, is a goaltender. I mean, that to me is, it would be like for baseball going up against Pedro Martinez 7 times, where, well, gee, I'm going to take my chances with Pedro on the mound. I think he'll win 4 out of 7, just how good he is. So to use that as an example, the other part of it too, one last year, Boston was a little banged up going into that final for whatever reason to going into the playoffs. They come out and say it. Of course, they say it afterwards. We have to sit there and figure out, well, this guy doesn't look right. Well, he's not on the injury report. Then you find out, well, Patrice Bergeron was playing through some things. But I really think where it becomes the disadvantage to have the best record is not that you put it on cruise control, but you haven't played a really meaningful game like, gosh, we got to win tonight, because if not, and you go up against a team that's all they've been doing for the last 2 months, that they're ready for the grind of the playoff action of, all right, well, if we lose tonight, we better win tomorrow, where, Boston's like, we lose tonight, well, we'll just win tomorrow. And you see that with those top teams. And I think that the salary cap era, to Gilio, your point, is extremely prescient right now, because the gap between the best teams and the 8th seed isn't as big as it used to be. But there's not a curse that goes with it. There's logical explanations as to why it happens. And look, do I care that the Canes don't have the best record in hockey? All cards on the table? No, I don't. I really don't, because your whole thing is measured on, do you win the Stanley Cup? Period. That's what the Canes postseason run is going to be measured on. If they were the first seed or the 16th seed, it wouldn't have mattered in, I think, anybody's mind. So for me, what I would like is, if it comes to a Game 7, I'd like it at home. That's the only thing that really, the President's Trophy is the big thing for me. I keep calling it the President's Cup. I'm a big sailing guy and a big golf guy as well. So,
well, I think the point that you made about we have a mindset here of college basketball. Like, if you're the number 1 seed, you're playing a 16 and the 16 sucks. Well,
yes.
And then in hockey, you think, well, if you're the number 1 seed, or even in the NBA, right? Now, last year changed a little bit, but even in the NBA, you look at it, you're like, oh, well, they're number 1 seed. They're going to sweep whoever they play in the first round. The crazy thing about the teams who won the President's Trophy, obviously, is the number 1 overall seed. 6 times they've lost since 06 in the first round.
Yeah.
3 of those teams they've lost to have ended up in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
In last year, LA in 12, who won it, and Edmonton, of course, back in 06, who beat that Detroit juggernaut to get to the Stanley Cup final, only to lose to the Canes in 7 games.
Yeah. There we go. Where are these teams on our Mount Rushmore of hockey?
Boy, okay.
Early.
I mean, a little too early. Let's wait till the season's over. The season's over. We got time for that.
No, I think there is an added pressure to being the number one overall seed.
I don't think
and the way that people talk about you. I think there is a difference.
That's where I disagree, because the pressure doesn't come from what Spittin' Chicklets is talking about. It doesn't come from what us talking about it. And the handful of people who show up for scrums. It is them, because they set the table for themselves back at the trade deadline. They set it themselves. So to me, that's my overall point. It doesn't matter if they're the President's Trophy winner or not. They're ultimately putting the pressure on themselves to get to the Stanley Cup Finals or bust.
The Canes have a very focused identity. I agree with you.
Yes.
But in general, when you are the number one overall seed, you feel like you have to impress people. It's not just good enough that you beat people. You have to hammer them. And that's not a reality in hockey. That's not the way that hockey works.
All right, let me ask a serious question on this when we talk about pressure and what's more real when you get to the playoffs or even during the season. Is it you have the best record in hockey, to Joe Giglio's point, and now there's this expectation of, well, you better win it all because you're the top seed after going through 82 games, or you're the betting favorite coming into the season. And that's what the Carolina Hurricanes were. They were the betting favorite coming into the year. And I think I lean to Ovius's point. The pressure was there. If this team was 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't matter, because this is now their 6th straight year in the playoffs.
Not only that.
But what happened at the beginning of the year when they were the betting favorite, and they didn't exactly handle it that great.
They didn't handle it that great, and there was also a variety of issues that were going on at the beginning of the season. Yeah. When's Svechnikov going to be on the ice? There's obviously the Freddie Anderson blood clotting issue that took him out of the lineup from November until recently. All of this is to say the biggest thing that we haven't even brought up yet: Vegas favorite, number one seed, all that stuff, throw it out the window. What's been the biggest talking point for every single one of their playoff exits? We haven't had a true crack at this thing at 100%.
Right.
They have it now. They have it.
Well, yes.
Now what do you do? Now, because all the excuses are off the table. You were active at the trade deadline. A serious of you and joke. You had to like the group before you could love the group. Well, now they love the group. Okay. Everybody's there. What's the excuse? What's the excuse? And that's where I'm getting at with the Carolina Hurricanes. I think fans recognize it. And this team obviously recognizes it. Now they just have to stay true to themselves and not do the classic thing of, you've been one thing all season long. Don't try to change it up once you get to the playoffs.
No, they're not going to. And you guys talked to Rod Brindamore enough to know this. He's not changing. And the way this team plays is not changing. I think the one thing this year, Joe, to your point of injuries, is if there is one now, they've never been this deep to where the guy who they call up next, last year it was Mackenzie McEachern who got called up, and everybody was looking around the plate going, who? When did the Canes sign? Where?
Right.
And and he came in and he had an impact. He actually made an impact in the Islanders series, which is ridiculous to me. But now you're going to go into a playoff series, and if you need to make a change, you're talking about putting in a player, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who played over 70 games this year for the Carolina Hurricanes. That's your depth. You're looking at a player like Tony DeAngelo. He is your next defenseman up. This is a guy with NHL playoff experience. So I think that's the other part of it now. And yeah, they understand it. They get where they're going to be judged and what's going to happen. There's no excuses this time. It's not 2019. Oh, it was just, great to be there and great to be on the run. And then last year, well, you didn't have, and I keep saying this, I don't know if having Andrei Svechnikov beats the Florida Panthers, but I don't think he gets swept. I think that he's going to be in on a play or does something that one of those tight games, a bounce can go the Canes' way. I'm not saying the whole series, but one of the games. But now you come into this one, and it's just, how do you put the cards together, and how do you stay healthy through this run? Because if this team doesn't reach the finals, and it's hard to win this trophy, guys, we all know that. But if this team doesn't reach the finals, there's going to be nobody more disappointed in that than the 23-plus guys and the coaching staff and the front office and the owner, because they feel that this is their year to do it.
Who in Russian or English needs to sit Svech down and explain to him, love that you're back. Please don't take any stupid penalties. Pretty please.
Oh, it's been done. But it's been done. So Niet has been said several times. It's been done. And I think that it has become a little bit of I think for him, and I hate saying this, there's some guys who get a reputation in leagues, and the second his stick gets parallel and touches somebody's hands or hooks somebody, I mean, the ref's arm goes up, and I watch it. I'm not complaining, and I'm not trying to say this is unfair, but there are some guys where you just know that the call is going to go against them if he does anything close to it. But it's been driven home into his head that he cannot retaliate, and he cannot retaliate in moderation, I should say. That he can't be the guy, if he gets slashed, he can't turn around and slash, because it's always the second guy who gets caught anyway. But it's been driven home in his head, and I think that he's not going to be the one bit phased by the playoffs. If anything, I think he's just ready for the playoffs to get going, because he missed last year and wants to be a big part of this.
Speaking of Russians, I know you and Tripp talked about this a little bit too. And Tripp wasn't happy with the way that Kochetkov plays. He wants to get out of the crease. He'll attack. He'll make a play. He'll poke. And I think some teams are trying to take advantage of that. See if they can draw. They can draw something out of that. And I know Tripp went a little bit of a soliloquy about that. I don't disagree with him, by the way. It's an exciting play. There's a physicality to it. I love it. I love the aggressiveness. But it is a worry maybe going into the playoffs about how they treat such things when Kochetkov is in net.
Well, one, I love it. Two, that's not a penalty, even though they called it the other night in Chicago that it's a tripping penalty. He got to the puck first.
Yep.
And then the player trips over the top of him. And in my mind, that would be no different than Jacob Slavin knocking the puck away, and then the player falling to the ice, and it has nothing to do with Jacob Slavin. Slavin jumps into the body and he knocks him down with a check afterwards. That's how I look at that play. I think, and I can't speak for Tripp, but when he's saying it, it's one of those things where you have to, because you get books on goaltenders and shooters and everything. If you're going to do it, you've got to be unpredictable when you do it. You can't do this all the time. You can't always go with the poke check. You can't always come out of the crease if there's somebody coming in on you, because this league adapts quickly to that, and they can take advantage of it. But, Tripp also loves the aggressiveness, because when it happens, when you're not expecting it, it's going to knock the puck the other way. And I think the fortunate thing for the Canes too, I don't care if it's Freddie Anderson or Pyotr Kochetkov right now. It doesn't matter who their netminder is, the way that this team plays, and they don't play differently with who's behind them. If you ask me who, and I'm going to put the question out there before one of you do, if you ask me who the game one starter is against the Islanders, I think it's Freddie Anderson.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing for Pyotr Kochetkov, if you go all the way back to December 12th, and the poke check against Brady Tkachuk on the penalty shot, and then the yapping afterwards, we all love it. The fans love it. This gets us going. Since then, he has kind of toned down those theatrics, and he has been a little bit more composed when it comes to going after other players or being physical in that tone. And he's learned from it. And I think the big reason why is because he got a chance to play a lot of games.
Before we get into the dynamics of what the roster might look like tonight as they close up the season against the Columbus Blue Jackets, when we talk about the Carolina Hurricanes and we get into playoff mode here relatively soon, it's all thanks to our friends at Rhoback, RHOBack.com. Use the promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order. Is there by the way, I got some Rhoback stuff delivered to the house yesterday.
Ooh.
Bro, the hoodie is insanely comfortable. Insanely comfortable. I have to order some shorts because it's skies out, thighs out season at the Ovius house.
Oh no!
But do we have a potential polo for Maniscalco?
I mean, I'll take a hoodie or a nice little zip up or whatever. I mean, I'll take anything, guys. You know this. We all work in entertainment, so whatever you want to throw me, I know.
The radio lifer at Maniscalco will never die out. I'm like, is there free food somewhere? Yes,
I'll be there. The only thing I don't need are t-shirts. That's it.
No.
Yeah, no. That's not what this is about.
All right, so you're a golf guy, Mike.
Oh my god!
And they have
swine.
Yes,
little pigs. Little pigs.
They have different themes for different states.
Yeah,
and the one from New York kind of is like a Buffalo Bills type theme. So that has potential for you, but the pig. This is the one. Pig picking is the name of this particular shirt. Show
the back of the shirt because typically they'll have the Rhoback colors on the back of it, but on the back of this one with the little NC flag on there.
That is solid.
This
I love
That's
that.
a good looking shirt. Yeah, I do love that.
That's a nice touch. I like that.
Yeah.
You know what? That's going to make when I shoot 104 feel less terrible.
Even better.
And you'll do it in comfort as well. So yes, they are our new corporate champion. And every time we talk to Mike Maniscalco, he is brought to you by Roback.com.
Nice.
All right. So to put a wrap on this, I will remind the listeners, or if you're watching the premiere on YouTube, that this is a conversation that took place in the morning before the morning skate, but with the playoff matchup set, Mike, I'm guessing that there's going to be some additional ice time for dudes we haven't seen play in the NHL in a wholesale bunch.
That would be very correct.
Okay.
To my knowledge, we will see the debut of a couple of players in the NHL who have been with the team and practicing with the team in Jackson Blake and Bradley Nadeau. So you'll get to see that. That's exciting. I think Scott Morrow, who made his NHL debut against St. Louis when there was still stuff on the line, and he acquitted himself more than well. I hate saying things like, well, he looked the part, because that means like he was acting, but he did more than look the part. He's going to be a guy who I think can play in this league, and what kind of player he turns into. I won't make the prediction, but this is a guy who I think the moment was not too big for him, and it was a desperate St. Louis team that needed a win to keep their playoff hopes alive, and he fit in, and there'll be some other changes, and I think you'll see some regulars out. Like I said, we haven't had the morning skate yet, so anybody who is listening to this when you guys post it, I don't have the lines. Mike, what are the lines? I don't know. We're not there yet.
It's okay. What a glorious position to be in, Mike. The guy who did the call-in show for all of those years when Game 82 was life or fucking grim death.
Oh.
And now all of a sudden you have the ability to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, they're calling somebody up from Minnesota. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they got a guy from Richmond. They got a guy from Norfolk. Like, who cares? Right?
Like, so
the most meaningful Game 82 of all time. It's beautiful.
I normally have all my game prep, especially when we have time. I get it done the night before. And I got I got all of my prep done yesterday. And then later on in the evening, I've been told, yeah, that's not going to happen. So I'm like, preseason hockey, here we are. And it's great where it's the Canes. It doesn't matter. Now, the Canes do want to win, because tiebreakers in the playoffs are not based on how you finish in your division. It is points. So, the Canes hold the tiebreakers literally with everybody, except they can't catch the Rangers because of the Rangers getting to 114 points. That being said, it is so great to come into a Game 82 and be like, whatever happens, happens. Like, you don't have to sit there and answer all of the calls of gloom and doom of they should have done this. And, I played high school hockey. It's tremendous. I love it. Also, the weirdest thing about the lines, I don't know if we've ever talked about like weird social interactions and what social media can do. Curt Schilling used to tweet or X at me, whatever you call it, but what are the lines and who's starting in goal? And I'm like, why is it? And I'm like, because he could gamble in states where you could gamble.
Yeah. I don't know. You should respond to him. Like, did you apply more ketchup to your sock today?
Anyway. I did one time. I said, was that Heinz 57 or was it just straight Heinz?
Did that massive multiplayer online video game that you never locked? You ever? Sorry, that was a Super Bowl Radio Row conversation I had with. That's an actual conversation I had with Curt Schilling at a Super Bowl Radio Row once when he was selling me this game, and I'm thinking to myself, this game is never going to catch on. But best of luck, my man.
Wow, if it didn't get the Joe Obia seal of approval, that's like the Titanic. It was doomed the second it left port.
The way he was describing this MMO, I was like, okay, buddy, you have Godspeed. I'm glad you convinced people to give you money for this, but it ain't going to make money. All right, Mike, we appreciate the time as always. Have fun with Game 82. We will see you for the playoffs.
Yeah, cannot wait. Thanks, guys.
Big thanks to Nature's Relief Hemp Store. Check them out online at naturesreliefhempstore.com. Relief is spelled RELEAF. Leaf, like in the tree. They've got their grand opening on the Western Boulevard location in Raleigh this Saturday, 4/20. See what they did there. In fact, I've gotten a couple of texts from friends who have been listening to the podcast in relation to Nature's Relief. And just like, yeah, as things have, there's a lot of education that's needed.
I was going to say, just ask the questions.
Don't
be intimidated.
There are no stupid questions. And this is something that in talking with friends and talking to people about this kind of stuff, there is a level of intimidation about understanding what does what.
Oh, I have to go in and know. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You can just tell them, hey, this is what I'm looking for. I want to be able to sleep better. But they'll help you.
I have some joint pain. I have the XYZ. I'm just looking to deal with some anxiety in a natural way. Again, these are all very important questions, natural questions, and ones that they have answers for. I've been a big fan of what Nature's Relief is doing, and you can check them out online at naturesreliefhempstore.com.
And we will be there at their new store on Western. That's May 16th. The OG Live will be there May 16th. New setup over on Western, Nature's Relief.
Big thanks to Whitaker and Hamer for sponsoring Ovias and Giglio. Check them out online at wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer, attorneys and counselors at law. They're also helping us out with our OG Birthday Bash 1 year extravaganza at Shady's in Garner.
Letting it all go. Speaking of Nature's Relief,
we're taking your birthday back.
Taking it all back.
We are taking your birthday back.
Taking everything.
Next week, we'll be at Longleaf. It'll be a good time.
Let's do it.
But first, let's focus on the anniversary party at Shady's, May 3rd. We got bourbon raffles. We got a Seth Jarvis mixtape. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we can't do this without Whitaker and Hamer.
And we can't do it without now. Another Chris came through yesterday.
I know.
With a whole new supply for us, sir. I can't thank Chris enough. Oh my gosh. Flew in from Ohio.
Yeah.
He was trying to explain to me all these different rules in Ohio and how he was able to procure some of these bourbon bottles. And I'm like, Chris, come on, man.
Tell you what,
this is too much. I gave him some socks.
One of
he was like, oh, this is great.
Cool. Thanks. You just gave us a bunch of great bourbon. Here are some Rock'em socks.
I gave him the 5 stars only sticker.
Okay.
So Chris works, he's a trap, basically has to go to different plants and does some consulting work. And one of them's down in Lumberton. So he was in town.
Yeah.
But he literally travels with a suitcase of bourbon. And he put the OG 5-star only sticker on the suitcase. And I was like, highest total honor. But he said to me, he goes, you guys, he grew up here in Raleigh, went to Enloe. His dad used to work at State, teacher at State. And then he's in Ohio now. And he was like, you guys are the way I keep up with the ACC and NC State. So I appreciate
Love
you.
it. I absolutely love that. We appreciate Hometown Realty as well. Check them out. myhtr.com. Buy, sell, calculate. I'm seeing what some of these home prices are going for. Why would you ever take a guaranteed offer? So go to Hometown Realty, myhtr.com. Joe, we've been doing North Carolina sports forever.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have thought that the Carolina Hurricanes would be the most decorated and actually the most successful of the professional teams in the state of North Carolina? So we go from the immaculate vibes of the Carolina Hurricanes going for the Stanley Cup to, I don't even know what to describe the vibes in Charlotte for the Hornets. Walker Mehl joining us, WFNZ, Locked On Hornets podcast. Walker, what's up, man?
Not immaculate. I wouldn't describe it as immaculate. It's going well. I appreciate you guys having me on once more. My question is, are people still asking about the Hornets like they were during the whole 5 wins and 6 games stretch?
No. When post-trade deadline, when the Hornets had what I would describe as a dead cat bounce and people were hyped about it, and we're like, all right, cool. Let's check in with the Hornets. Let's see what's going on. I have not heard a single thing about this.
Yeah.
And hopefully this doesn't, put you in a bad spot. But I thought this tweet from our old colleague, Mark Armstrong, was very, very hilarious. The Hornets put on Twitter, here's our starters for the finale. And I'm like, I know Bolden. I know he had a cup of coffee with Duke there for a bit. I've heard of Trey, man. Yeah. JT Thor, that's a cool name. And he just tweets out, this squad wouldn't make the Sweet 16.
Yes, Mike Greenberg is smiling somewhere. College athletics competing with the NBA. He loves it. That one is as celebrated a Tankanista lineup as I've seen in quite some time. We used to have some real bad ones, and I'm telling you, I would put the R&B singer Tank up there. It was like a bit that I had. I would put him up anytime they would put some of the lineups that they had in the past. That was one. I missed the mark, honestly, but I should have put it up there because when you have, just for reference, Bolden, if in case the ACC viewers don't know what he's been up to, he's actually fought really hard to stay in the league. So kudos to him. But G League, like 17 points per game, and then is clearly not an NBA player right now, and then starting for the Hornets. And so it's been a rough go, but that's how we ended things against the Cavs with that lineup.
So they finished the year at 21-61 with not a lot of health, though.
Yeah.
So my question for you, Walker, is as the armchair GM here, how do they do what the Houston Rockets did a year ago? How do they coalesce around some of these younger parts that they have, and go from a team that's not very good to a team, the Rockets improved by 20 wins, 41-41 this season? Is there a path? Do you see a Rocket-like path for our Charlotte Hornets?
No, I don't think so. It's a good question because we've looked at the Rockets though. No. I'll put it to rest pretty immediately. No, it's a good question though, because what happened with the Rockets is in the offseason, they just dished out a ton of money for good players, overpaid, but good players, right? So they get as much as Dylan Brooks was this clown of the NBA at some point, calling out LeBron, still a pretty good defensive player, like legitimately very good. And so they overpaid for him, but they got him. Did the same thing for Fred VanVleet from Toronto, who has the championship experience and also a really good player in his own right. But they decided we need veterans on top of this roster that has just so many young guys. And you see so many teams fall victim to this. They think tanking means getting all of the young dudes as much as possible with zero vets on the roster and then just losing and losing and losing and losing. And then eventually you'll get over it. When the Rockets, they go out and they get some vets. No, they're not like a top 6 team, but they're still a good enough basketball team that's competing, and they don't just have this losing culture set in, which as much as we talk about culture and probably overuse it, I do think at some point it sets in and you can't get out of it. And then you have to move on to a different nucleus. And the Rockets, to their credit, they hire Ime Udoka, who after everything that took place in Boston, he still is a very good coach. It's not like Boston wanted to get rid of him. They just felt like they had to, and it was the right decision for them. Houston picks him up saying, hey, wasn't our problem then. We'll just, as so many teams do, we'll pick him up, and they do a great job. At least with the Hornets regime, I'm hoping that they look to keep the parts and the young pieces like the Rockets did that actually matter going forward, and then using some of their cap space for veterans. So maybe like a Rockets light type of offseason where you don't have the, $50-60 million tied up in veteran contracts with some of those guys, but you can still get veterans on the team that don't cost that much, that still make a difference. And from what we've heard from exit day interviews and what we've heard from some of the comments beforehand, I mean, I'm slightly optimistic. It doesn't help that every single owner in this franchise's history appeared in the worst owners pyramid, according to Bill Simmons. Every single one of them. None of them dodged the pyramid. I'm hoping these two don't. I hope they don't show up on the pyramid, and we'll see what they do as we move forward.
You mentioned the Rockets hired a good coach. Is there someone out there obvious out there for the Hornets, or will they be daring? I saw that Lindsey Harding, former Duke player, was interviewed for this job.
Yeah, I do like a lot. I really like all the candidates that they've interviewed. They're doing the thing you should do, right? They're going after the young assistants. Just go ahead and stick to the blueprint that's worked so many times. The Panthers did this. They hired the bright offensive mind. They get Dave Canales. They bring him in, and they don't try to go crazy and go to the college game like the Panthers did the first time. The Hornets, I know Nate Oates has been thrown out there trying to go after him, like trying to go after whatever one of these college coaches, which I've not subscribed to. It's just what fans would like to see. But like, no, guys, we don't need to do the wild card thing. We just need to do something that has worked so many times before. And a lot of times it doesn't. But when you go after young assistants that are highly thought of in the NBA and then bring them aboard and then see what they can do as a head coach, that's what I want to do. And so Charles Lee from the Celtics organization, really like him, has a great coaching tree, worked with Mike Budenholzer, worked with the Hawks, so there's familiarity with the ownership group and the GM and Jeff Peterson. Charles Lee would be first on my list. Jordy Fernandez was high on that list, and then he just was announced as the Nets head coach. And so now he's in Brooklyn within the last 24 hours. But I like the process they're going through. Lindsey Harding is one that actually got to the Western Conference Finals in the G League, and players absolutely love her and think she demands respect in a way that any other coach would be able to do. And so Lindsey Harding could be the first woman head coach in the NBA. I don't know if that happens with the Hornets. If you're Lindsey Harding and me just as a viewer of Lindsey Harding, I would like her to go to a franchise that has a better track record because I want that to be right? Like I want her to get the right job so that she can be successful. And the Hornets haven't shown me enough to where I can believe in that. But I do like the fact that they're interviewing her and Charles Lee and all these assistants. So Lee would be first, but I like the process and bringing in a lot of the assistants, Kevin Young, a few other names to keep in mind.
So my question, I want to go back to what you said about culture and how it can be overused. You're right. I'm not going to disagree with you about that being an overused phrase, but it does factor in. It does matter. When we started this conversation, we talked about the Carolina Hurricanes. And when Tom Dundon took over his ownership, there were some rough patches, getting rid of people who were longtime popular employees, right? There was changes in how they went about ticket packages and whatnot. It was a little bit more cutthroat and people didn't like it. But then you started to see the results on the ice. And now the Canes have this winning culture. Now, I don't think any of this goes anywhere without Rod Brind'Amour, who's instilled that culture onto the players. And it all kind of comes out from there. And Dundon has learned on the job. You inverse that from where we were with David Tepper, right? In the Carolina Panthers. People were hype about David Tepper. He was a super rich guy who paid cash for this football team. Jerry Richardson was a cheapskate. Oh my goodness, you're putting the Panthers logo on the field. Let's go. And we see now people saying, man, I wish Tom Dundon could pull David Tepper to the side and have a conversation with him about how to go forward with this organization. This gets us to the Hornets. Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, they've had bad ownership. What do we know about this new group, if anything?
Yeah, we don't know a lot. What we do know is that at the offseason, at the trade deadline, shortly before you guys had me on, right, that led to the 5 wins in a 6-game stretch.
Right.
The question was, how involved were Gabe Plotkin and Rick Schnall in the actual, not only just the basketball operations of going to Mitch Kupchak and saying, hey, make moves at the deadline right now. This is your demand. Or if it stopped there, or if they were actually telling Mitch Kupchak what players they liked based off of what their people were telling them. And it seemed like a little bit more of the latter. Okay. Because when Mitch Kupchak went to the podium after the trade deadline, he was saying, I was surprised at their knowledge of all the players in the league and some of the guys to go after. So, yes, because we have David Tepper in the city of Charlotte, you are worried that the owners are going to be too involved in basketball/football operations, whatever sport you're an owner in, right? But I think the fact that we had just done nothing at the deadline for so many years, I thought this was understandable. I understand, too, that ownership would go to Mitch Kupchak because we all knew he was going to be out anyway. It wasn't that well of a kept secret. So we all knew he was going to be out. Like, I'm hoping that they bring in somebody that they know in Jeff Peterson. They allow him to make a lot of those decisions. And the way they handled Mitch Kupchak was just because, well, he's going to leave anyway. It doesn't really matter. These are the players we want. And this is what we think we should do with PJ Washington. And to be fair, it was a great trade deadline. There's a reason they went on that winning streak. It was just a second wave of injuries that made them falter again, on top of course, not having a lot of talent. But I do think Gabe Plotkin and Rick Schnall are going about this in the right way. The process I like, going after Jeff Peterson, who is highly respected. He would have gotten a GM job somewhere in the NBA if it wasn't with the Hornets within the next 5 years. I believe that. And I like the fact that you go out and you get some people that you're familiar with, but also had success with. Like sometimes the nepotism thing can be terrible, as we saw with previous ownership.
Yeah.
But here, at least you're getting people that have a really good track record too. It's not just nepotism with, oh, okay, well, we're related.
Yeah.
That's why we should hire you. No, when you win a championship in Milwaukee, that's good enough on a resume for Charles Lee. When you get to an Eastern Conference Finals and like the Hawks did against Philadelphia when they beat Ben Simmons, passing up the layup and the dunk and all that. Like there's some real winning coming aboard here. And so I like the direction this franchise is headed with new ownership at the helm.
We'll get out of here on this. What is LaMelo Ball's future on this organization?
It's way too early. I shouldn't say way. That's hyperbole. I think it's too early to trade him. I know a lot of fans are really frustrated because the last 2 years, it's been under 40% of the games that he's played combined.
Right.
36 2 years ago, less than that this season. Not exactly the direction you want to head. The big problem with LaMelo is we asked him about ankle braces and whether he was wearing them after it was reported at the beginning of the season that he was. And then, I asked him in like November. He said he got real quiet. He was like, "Nah, I'm not wearing them." And I was like, "What? Oh, like at the beginning of the season? Now are you saying?" He's like, "Nah, I didn't wear them at all this year. They hurt. They were too uncomfortable." And so then, once that got out, people are like, "Okay, well, are you doing everything you can to protect your ankles? Because the last couple of years you've suffered is it 6 ankle injuries? It's a lot. It's a lot over the last couple of seasons." So, when he goes up to the podium in exit day interviews yesterday, he says, when asked about wearing ankle braces, he's saying, "Yeah, we got to find the right custom fit. We got to see what's comfortable, and we'll see how it goes from there." Look, if the ankle braces truly aren't going to protect your ankles any more so, then fine. But if you're saying that you're trying to wear them and you're going to see, like, it seems like you're making an effort to wear them, which means I have a belief that doctors and or trainers are telling you, hey, these things will protect your ankles if you wear them, and you're still not, then that's a real problem. So the Hornets, what are they doing to protect him? What is LaMelo doing to protect himself? And that's the real big question as well. I hope everything possible, right? I hope that he can stay healthy next season and Brandon Miller and LaMelo can form one of the most fun and one of the better backcourts in all of the NBA. That hope, that's the reason you don't trade him now. It's not like dire situation, because at the beginning of the season, he was playing very well. I mean, he was giving you NBA All-Star type numbers, but it's a real issue with all of the injuries. And so if the Hornets can figure out a way to keep him healthy, if LaMelo can figure out a way to keep himself healthy, then I think this marriage can work. But it's been a tough 2 years with him at the helm as well.
Walker Mehl, WFNZ, Locked On Hornets podcast. We'll check in with you trade deadline next season.
Yeah, it sounds good. I can't wait. That means we're going to win
the draft.
They might win They would be classic Hornets. There's not a number one out there. Oh, let's win the lottery.
Yeah, that's totally what's going to happen. We'll check in with you at the draft. All right.
Okay. You guys just let me know. I'll be ready.
Thanks, Walker. We talk about our corporate champions all the time. Let's actually talk to a corporate champion. He is Adam Stevenson. He is the president and CEO of Breeze Through Markets, not just the guy who gives us the 700-yard Ethernet cable, which we use all the time. Adam, what's going on, man?
Guys, welcome. Glad to be on the show today. Came fully prepared, okay? We got our makeshift studio here in the Breeze Through bunker. We are revved up. We're excited to talk Gasters. Excited to maybe get on Giglio for his opinion about whether or not Scotty Scheffler can win at Pinehurst. Spoiler alert, he is 100% winning at Pinehurst, by the way. So we're here to talk golf and share a little bit about Breeze Through.
All right. But first off, unlike the Masters, the Gasters is very easy to attend, very easy to participate in. I don't have to have a super secret email to get a media credential. I don't have to know a guy who knows a guy to get me on for the practice rounds. So explain the Breeze Through Gasters for us.
Yep. Look, we love the Masters. Okay. One of the best weeks of the year for, all sports fans, but certainly folks who love golf like us at Breeze Through. And this is our little fun twist on this tournament. It's a way for people to get involved, and it is appropriately named the Gasters. Yep. So that's what we did. So we started a pool. We wanted to get a ton of people playing. A large number of people did play. Thanks to everybody that got involved. Appreciate that. You pick 6 players. Top 4 scores count, and the lowest score is the Gasters champion. Yep. So, and I'm here to talk about the results today.
Okay, so what did we get? How did it all work out?
Well, first of all, we gave away 4 awards. Okay, first, second, third, best team name. And, some of the names were creative. I'm looking at the list right here, right? We got EB for 3, a guy named Elliot B. Don't know what the B stands for. I'm assuming this guy is an excellent jump shooter. Maybe he comes off some screens and, looks like Scott Wood out there, or maybe RJ Davis. We've got the putt pirates. We've got Thursday rain delay.
I'm sorry.
Putt pirates.
Putt pirates.
That's
Look,
really
I don't
good.
make, I
That's
don't,
really good.
I didn't moderate this group. We just let them do it. Nicholas at night. Spelled like Jack Nicholas. I mean, that could go a wide variety of different ways. I could see him talking to Barbara. Barbara, it's nighttime. What do you want to do? I don't know. Nicholas at night. There you go. There's your token Jack Nicholas impression from me, which nobody asked for.
That is a deep cut. You're too young to know that, Adam. What are you talking about?
Look, I am full of. Look, I know a lot about gas stations. I know a lot about useless things. It's just part of the deal.
Technology. Where to get a
part of the deal with me.
Football field.
Shankopotamus.
Yeah.
The gnomes. By the way, what is going on with this gnome obsession out of Augusta National Golf Club and the Masters? Have you guys heard about this?
No.
They sell these gnomes in the golf shop, and they line up an hour ahead of the gates opening so that these people can run down and get in line to buy these gnomes.
Yes.
And take them home.
Yes.
It is one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen or heard of. They have to limit how many you can buy.
Yeah.
And
it's the same thing when I open up Instagram and people are losing their minds over a Figment popcorn bucket.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what this gnome is for a lot of folks. It's
all
all
like in my research on the gnome obsession, it became known to me. I did not ask for this information. It just became apparent to me.
That'll take you to some websites.
Apparently, gnomes are a social signal that you are into, like, what some people would describe as swinging. So
wait a minute. I thought that was the pineapple.
Gilio, maybe you could speak to it. I know you've got an affinity for pineapples on your apparel.
Pineapple back. Okay.
Out in Garner. And I'm just reporting what the internet shared with me.
Interesting.
Which is not helpful for anybody, but
I think you put the gnome out when it's time.
Oh,
who can say?
Okay.
I can't say.
This is news to
me. It's the whole
me.
culture, man.
I feel here's the thing about this, all this culture stuff, you're appropriating stuff that just normal people like.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, why can't I have a gnome?
Remember when I wore a Hawaiian shirt? You're like, are you sure you want to be careful with that? I'm like, what? It's a Hawaiian shirt. I like wearing Hawaiian shirts. You know what? Damn it. I'm taking the Hawaiian shirt back.
Take it all back.
Taking it all back.
So look, it's a shame, and nothing is sacred anymore, truly.
Who was the
but here we go. In my opinion, best name that we got here, we've got Kane's Final Boss. Kane's Final Boss.
I like it. Combo.
I like that.
Congratulations to, let's see if we get a first and a last name, Joey Doster.
Oh, Joey.
Hey, Joey.
Yes. Kane's Final Boss. Way to go, Joey. Awesome name. Way to go. I think the Canes might be the final boss. I hope that's not a description of us entering, the arena and facing a final boss. Hopefully it means that we're the final boss. That's what I like.
Yeah, I think I'm going to interpret it as the Canes are the final boss.
Yep.
Rock in his recent turn here.
He's the final boss. Yes.
So here we go into the top three finishers. Coming in third place, 7 under, Chip Schilling.
Okay.
Which is
one of our listeners.
Team. The name on this account is G Burrow, Greensboro, I think. Maybe something else. I don't know. We'll get an email address and we'll get some information there. He had Scheffler, Zalatoris, Cam Davis, the swamp ass guy himself, Lucas Glover. Shout out Greensboro last year, and Memphis the week after that. The guy was just drenched in sweat. Poor guy. Probably needs to change his apparel sponsor after that display. So congratulations to Chip Schilling, third place.
Prepare for that.
Coming in second place, Jared's Awesome Nails is the team name.
Okay.
Will, no last name, but Will is the owner of that team. He picked world number 1, Scotty Scheffler, Tommy Fleetwood, who made a move on Sunday, Matthew Pavon, the Frenchman, who, by the way, word on the street was he had a squad rolling with him at the Masters. They called it the Pavantourage. It was so big. Just unbelievable, the amount of folks rolling with Matthew Pavon. And, popular pick here, Lucas Glover. Again, just like maybe these are Clemson people. Maybe these are people who love a guy who doesn't wear a glove, right? Unbelievable how he holds on to that thing, but he's a flusher, no doubt. So congrats to Will. Second place, Jared's Awesome Nails. And finally, drum roll, please, the winner of the Masters Tournament rope hat. This is, obvious. We might need to take a peek at this.
Adam is like,
we might need to stop the count.
Almost like an
we might need to take this to the Supreme Court. Okay. This is unbelievable. Team name 1.21 gigawatts.
Gigawatts, yeah. That sounds familiar.
Joe Giglio?
Yeah, that sounds
Ever heard of him?
Where have I heard that team name before in various fantasy sports that I've been involved in?
Kind of unprofessional and unbecoming to win your own tournament.
We can take it to Whitaker and Hamer. We can take it to Whitaker and Hamer. You should put in the contest rules that those who are promoting it cannot participate.
As I love to tell you, all I care about is being right. So this is what I'll do. Since I was right, the hat that Adam procured, I will put into the raffle at the OG birthday party, where you can get the wonderful food truck.
Let's go.
From our friends at Breeze Through, from the CEO himself.
Let's go.
Adam Stevens.
Yep.
How about that?
I love
and
it.
Adam, you'll get your damn good dog shirt that day as well. Win.
What's that?
It's a win-win. Everybody wins.
Look, there's nothing better than a win-win, and I think that we've unlocked here today. You pick Scotty, shocker. The dude is just playing on a different level. No one on earth has hit their irons better than Scotty outside of Tiger during his prime years. It is an absolute display what he's putting on. You pick Bryson, right? The content king. Thick boy's not so thick anymore, but he's still out there producing, and I think he really enjoyed the attention that he got playing well at Augusta. Your Deeks are represented. Will Zalatoris, popular pick. Now that his back's better, I think he might be able to compete in some other tournaments, maybe some majors this year. And finally, don't know if he qualifies as a DGD, maybe on a technicality, right? But 2018 Masters champ, Patrick Reed, as well. Harris English would probably not call him a DGD.
No, he would not.
Who can say?
Adam, appreciate it. Gasters,
yeah, guys.
Sounds
Thanks
fun.
for your time.
Fortunate that Giglio won, but fortunate for the listeners that it now goes
to
the raffle option
play
for the Shady's Birthday Bash, OG Birthday Bash on May 3rd out in Garner. And I'm sure we will be setting up in a beer cave.
We'll be talking soon because we got playoffs, and this. We need you.
Can't wait. Look, it's an open invite. Open invite to the beer cave.
All right, Adam. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
Adam is a nut, man. An absolute nut. We appreciate him. We also appreciate Butcher's Market. Check him out, thebutchersmarket.com. I noticed some folks have been sending us photos of their trips to the Butcher's Market. We appreciate that. Always.
My man, D. Meyer. Yeah, he was like, I'm having a great weekend because I'm going to the Butcher's Market. I'm like, it's that easy. It really is that easy.
It's that grill weather time, right? You want to throw something on there? They make it really, really easy with their marinated steak, chicken, and sometimes just a straight up burger or dog. They've got all of that. Prepared vegetables, all those types of things at the Butcher's Market. We appreciate them. Check them out. thebutchersmarkets.com. And if you're in the Lake Boone Shopping Center area, well,
home base,
you get your Butcher's Market, and then you get yourself a pint of Two Roosters ice cream to take home with you. So check them out, tworoosters.com. I went on Saturday. I had one of the Kid Chef items. That was the puppy chow mix, which I thought was excellent. I'm going to have to try that
potato chip,
chocolate covered potato chip one. That's good too. And then you've got your maple bourbon, your coffee bourbon.
So good. I'm noticing a trend. All of the flavors are really good.
Weird.
And I thought you would be super proud of me that I went and I got 4 different flavors. Well, 3 new flavors plus the fastball in the coffee bourbon. But check them out. Lake Boone, off of Person Street, or over at the arena, or off of Lead Mine. Two Roosters is there with their great different flavor combinations. And you know what? It's warm out. You're telling me there's something better than ice cream right now?
There's not.
There's not.
There's not.
No, sir.
So I have some DraftKings made up OG odds. What are the odds of Rory McIlroy after all of this hullabaloo about PGA and LIV and everything else, that the whole reason why Greg Norman was following him around the Masters was, hey, man, I got money. You want to see the money? I got money. You want to see it? Hey, look at this cash. It's a lot of cash, isn't it? You want to come over to live? I mean, it'd be pretty funny if you came over to live after all that. But I mean, look at this money. You know, Vern Lundquist is hiding behind a tree. Greg Norman's just got this briefcase of cash. Like, hey, it's not bourbon like my guy Chris, who listens to the OG. No, this is a briefcase of cash with a live bumper sticker on it. What do you say, Rory? Come on, he can't go after all that.
Well, if you've watched any of Full Swing, you can understand why that he was completely in the dark about the decision that Jay Monahan made to go talk to Liv. And I think Liv has now kind of doubled down in terms of, oh, you think just because you went and got John Henry Jones's money or John Henry, whatever his name is, money,
right?
That we're just going to go away. No. And listen, as I told you from the Masters, the war is over.
Yeah.
It's they just need to come to an agreement to try to get the best players together more regularly than what they have right now.
Yeah, and the only way you're going to make that happen is by coming to some sort of agreement of what this new entity is going to be. Because I'm with you on this. Seeing the Masters, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. It's worth repeating. The Masters was an odd experience because it was weird to see all those names in the field together, and you forgot what it was. Oh, okay. And I also still think, I'm adamant about this, you're going to have to come up with a new system for the live golf players with cuts and a little bit more competition, because I do think it negatively affects them in these situations, in these settings. You're like, oh, wait a minute. You mean I don't have like the buffet waiting for me at the clubhouse to party with all the big sponsors and all that stuff after the fact? It's a little bit different, but I'd be curious to see what Rory does in this situation. You can get in on DraftKings right now here in North Carolina. We've been having a lot of fun with it. It is officially playoff time. NBA regular season has come to an end. The hockey playoffs are about to start. I know I used my bonus bets on the Carolina Hurricanes, a few futures to get out of X rounds to get to the Stanley Cup, win the whole thing. So hopefully those bonus bets will come on home in a positive way. You can earn some bonus bets when you bet $5 on DraftKings right now. Bet $5 and you'll get $200 instantly in bonus bets to use how you want. We got the draft coming up, all that kind of fun stuff. They got same game parlays. You can build your own parlays. They've got quick parlays. I think you had referenced something in golf the other day about like winner without
Scotty Scheffler. Yes.
Winner without Scotty Scheffler. All sorts of stuff that you can do on DraftKings. And you can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code OG24. Bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code OG24. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 877-1-855-43 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. 21 plus, North Carolina only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Deposit and eligibility restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook/NC. NASCAR is not a sponsor of this promotion and used under license. So again, use that promo code OG24. Put $5 down and get $200 in bonus bets. All right, let's get out of here on some Hey Joe questions. And yes, I heard from a few of our listeners. This is from William on Threads. I could not tell in your podcast if you were joking that you did not know who Tiger was shaking hands with, but just in case, that was Vern Lundquist from his usual perch on the 16th green for the last time. I was not kidding. I did not know. I had only seen the picture without context.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. I did what I usually do, jump on the meme train, make a joke, and then I move on with my life. Now, my joke wasn't as good as the joke that Gilio sent me related to Tiger Woods and that tree. Glad to see that Tiger Woods and the tree have reconciled their differences, and that was the Escalade crashing into a tree on a very fateful Thanksgiving evening. I mean, come on, man.
So good.
Come on. That was... Whew, goodness gracious. That's something. That is something. Let's go to the YouTube comments from yesterday's show. And this is from EREVNO. Listen to most of this as a podcast on the drive home. Got home and turned on the YouTube just to see Gilio turning red at the Pat Bev white boy joke, 5 stars. Yeah, you did turn red.
It was good.
You did turn red. From Brant, Piano Man's a shitty song anyway. CBS's main failure was not cutting it off before it started. I wouldn't say Piano Man's a shitty song. It's just overplayed. It's just overplayed. That's all. By the way, CBS, you don't mess with Billy Joel fans, man. I got a text from West Durham yesterday. He was mad that they cut certain things out. To which Kelly goes, oh, yeah. What they showed on CBS wasn't even the full set list and in the order in which he did the set list. I go, what do you mean? Oh, they did stuff out of order. It's like, I thought something was weird that he was doing songs that were typically part of the encore. I'm like, oh, we're deep in the rabbit hole when it comes to Billy Joel. And Wes was the same thing. He's like, no, the Big Shot? I mean, come on. So CBS apparently is going to re-air this concert on Thursday without interruption. So good for them. Good for them. From B. Grace, this ties into a conversation we were having yesterday and with Maniscalco today. Regarding the Canes, I've never knocked on wood more times in a span of a few minutes than I did during that Kane segment. Agreed. I am more nervous than usual about this playoff run. Already had a stress dream about going down 2-0 at home in the first round. This playoff run might put me in the hospital. But at the end of the day, it's time to execute like we know we can. It's our time. And he continues, we need to seize it. From Ken, Leverkusen? Is that how you pronounce it?
It's Leverkusen.
Leverkusen? I have no idea. They play West Ham on Thursday to advance to the semis of the Europa League with an 0-2 lead. Do we ride with the 43-game unbeaten squad or take the Hammers in LDN?
I'm always partial to the home team, but I'm going to let Ken pick that one since he's the one I consult for my soccer bets.
All I know is that I made blind soccer picks and did just fine, Joe. Did just fine. Oh, look at that. After complaining about how I'm trying to keep podcasts to some shorter time span, keep it to about an hour. What did I do, Joe?
Hey, man, sometimes you got a podcast on a Tuesday. You just got to make it work.
Sometimes you just got a podcast. You know what it is? You know what it is? It's actually a good problem to have. These are champagne problems, Joe.
Too many ads.
Corporate champions helping us out.
Our friends.
We'll see you all Wednesday.